everyone, good morning. As Pete said, my name is Liz Shaw and I'm the Head of Engagement for the National Lottery Heritage Fund across the Midlands and East. It's a pleasure to be part of the launch of the Midlands Forest Network. We're proud to have awarded over £196,000 towards the initial plans of the scheme. And as you've been hearing, it's a really exciting project for nature across the Midlands. At the National Lottery Heritage Fund, we have a history of supporting nature projects across the UK, with over £2 billion going to more than 4,700 projects around land, nature and biodiversity since 1994. And we're keen to support even more through our current and new strategy, which is Heritage 2033. So we launched this strategy in March last year. You may have heard of it. And we also at the same time launched a new vision for us as an organisation, which is that as the largest funder for the UK's heritage, our vision is for heritage to be valued, cared for and sustained for everyone now and in the future. Another key aspect of this 10-year strategy is the 4 investment principles which will underpin everything that we do over the next 10 years. So all our grant programmes, our partnerships, our strategic investments. And these are saving heritage, so conserving and valuing heritage for now and the future. And our support will ensure that heritage remains accessible, relevant, sustainable and valued. Protecting the environment, supporting nature recovery and environmental sustainability. We will support natural heritage and environmentally sustainable projects that help the UK to meet its nature recovery targets and to mitigate the impact of climate change on heritage. Inclusion, access and participation. Supporting greater inclusion, diversity and access and participation in heritage. We'll support organisations to ensure everyone has opportunities to learn, develop new skills and explore heritage regardless of background or personal circumstances. And finally, we have organisational sustainability. So strengthening heritage to be adaptive and financially resilient, contributing to communities and economies. We will support organisations to develop the skills and capacity to ensure a long-term future and encourage new heritage investment that benefits communities and economies. I'm now going to pass over to the virtual Julian, who's recorded a video message for us. Thanks, Liz.
Hello, my name's Julian Glover and I'm a trustee of the Heritage Fund and also chair of the Midlands and East, so of course covering the area which the Midlands Forest Network will be working in. It's a real pleasure to join you. I'm sorry I'm joining remotely. I've got other Heritage Fund meetings today, but I'm glad I'm able to take part, at least. I thought I'd just talk about a few aspects of our new strategy. It's come into force this year. We agreed it last year. It's simple, it's long-term, and it's ambitious about making a difference to places, not just individual projects, but joining things up, seeing a connected sense of change. So that, of course, is right in the middle of what you're trying to do as well. And I think there's huge synergy between our ambitions and yours. And I hope we can make some long-term partnership begin to happen. And maybe just picking up on that, that long-term word really matters. The Heritage Fund, of course, deals with landscapes that have been around for thousands of years, community projects which are relatively new, huge difference in timescale. But we want to be there for the long term in a sense of change. We want to support things that last. One of the core aspects of our new strategy, there are 4 bits of it. Liz might have talked about those already, or she will later today. But one of them is sustainable. We don't just want short-term things, we want endurance. And we're launching some big strategic initiatives run to a national level, but obviously working with local places, which will be 10 years at least in duration. So we hope we can be alongside what you do and others do with landscape and nature for the long term. And I know that matters. There was some great work. I chaired the National Parks Landscape Review, looking at national parks and then AONBs a few years ago. And we saw the landscape partnerships, which the fund had supported, and brilliant, brilliant work happened. But one message came through: they were too short-term. Just as things really got underway, ambitions were growing, connections were being made, partnerships being forged, it was time to begin to wind up. We hope we can extend that. So 10 years, I know you've got a 50-year horizon. Well, I can't promise 50 years, but we can start with 10. The second element that I think links where you want to be and we want to be with our strategy is people. We want really to include people of all kinds, engagement, activity, partnerships, not just about nature or bricks and mortar when it comes to heritage and buildings, but bringing them alive, engaging with the local communities, with people across the nation, a sense that this is there for all of us. And that, of course, hugely matters with landscape, nature, tree planting. It isn't a natural activity that takes place away from human beings, it's part of our lives. So again, a great connection with our new strategy. I think another thing we're very, very keen to do, we're doing well already in many places, is partnerships. And I know that's a word that gets used all the time these days. Everybody says, well, we're in favour of partnership working, and it sounds a really positive thing. You've got to make it real, it's got to mean something, and of course you've got to have those partners. That can actually be quite hard when it comes to some landscape and nature working with a multitude of different landowners, with farmers. I'm very keen to see landowners, farmers part of the work we do, not just NGOs, which are fantastic, and we do great things with them as well, but everybody involved in landscape and tree planting. Getting those partnerships going is hard. It takes governance, it takes skill. We've seen some really, really great things with the National Forest, I think. Lessons to learn there with John's brilliant work in how you work with people to build a proper, ambitious sense of partnerships. Not just a talking shop where people sit around a table and say they like to do something. It takes some leadership and it takes, of course, decisions. So we want to be part of that. We want to sit alongside people who do that. And we want to help fund that work, as well as some of the actual on-the-ground work that would then follow. So there's a real benefit from partnership work. And then I guess the two other aspects of our strategy which clearly have relevance, one of them is protecting the environment, an active say, protecting, enhancing, recovering, restoring, big ambition, joined up, landscape scale, every cliche of natural working that's around at the moment, but they make a difference and they mean something. Nature doesn't happen in a little zone inside a fence where everything else in life takes place elsewhere. We want to see that spread. And you can just imagine the potential across the Midlands. I can sit and talk about areas, but you know where it is on the ground, you know what can be done. So that big ambition for natural recovery, working with people. And then the final thing, although it's the first in the list in our new strategy, is saving heritage. And that matters. Heritage, of course, is a very broad word. It's not just buildings, natural environment too. Everything from the past made better and stronger and enduring for the future. And that, of course, is a great element of natural landscapes as much as buildings. So really, we're there for the long term. We're there for the environment, for nature, as well as buildings. We're there for people, and we're there to see it sustainable and endure and make a difference to places. That, I know, is exactly where you want to be, it's where we want to be. And I hope you can see I'm really excited about the potential. So I'm sorry not to be with you today, but I hope to be soon. And good luck with the rest of the event.
Give him a round of applause.
So last week we launched or relaunched, depending on how you look at it, our main grant programme, National Lottery Heritage Grants. And I know from the work of the Midlands Forest Network, there'll be a number of projects which are inspired, which are supported. And so I thought it'd be useful just to provide a broad overview of that grant programme. So as I mentioned, those investment principles really do underpin everything that we do. And in terms of National Lottery Heritage Grants, what we're saying is that all projects we fund have to take into account every single one of those investment principles. Now, we realise that projects may have a particular emphasis or a particular focus, and so we don't expect them all to be met equally, and that's absolutely fine. It's really down to yourselves to decide and demonstrate how you're going to emphasise and focus on those different investment principles. So there's 2 levels of grant then. So the first one is £10,000 to £250,000, and at this level we can support not-for-profit organisations, private owners of heritage and partnerships for projects that will last up to 5 years. There's no deadlines, so you can apply at any time, and once we've received your application and all the supporting documents, it will then take us 8 weeks to assess it, so it's really quite short. There's no minimum match funding, but we do encourage you to explore other sources of funding and also non-cash contributions as well. And at this level of grant, there is a project inquiry service. So you can fill in a project inquiry form through our website with a brief outline of your project idea, and we'll get back to you with some key points on how to take it forward. The next level of grant is £250,000 to £10 million. At this level, we support not-for-profit organisations and also partnerships led by not-for-profit organisations. The first step in applying is an expression of interest form where you outline your idea, tell us how it meets our investment principles, initial costings, etc. Send that in to us and we'll let you know whether or not we're inviting you to apply. If you are invited to apply, you then move through to a 2-stage application process. Projects can last for up to 5 years, although we recognise that sometimes projects may need to last longer, and so we are open to having a conversation about that if that's something that you'd be considering and can justify. In terms of match funding, there is a minimum amount of match funding at this level. So for grants of up to 1 million, you need to provide at least 5% match funding. For over £1 million, it's at least 10%. We're also running a number of strategic initiatives during this 10-year strategy as well. So Heritage Places launched in October of last year, and we'll be supporting 20 places, let me get this right, 20 places through an investment of £200 million over 10 years to help transform their heritage. The next 2 I think you may be interested in particular. So we've got Nature Cities and Towns, which is a partnership to deliver urban nature recovery through thriving historic parks and green spaces. And then also Integrated Landscapes, which is landscape scale nature recovery across the UK, providing better connections for people and nature. So both of those are in development at the moment. Also in development is Heritage in Need, which is about identifying gaps in our support to the heritage sector, particularly where there's heritage at risk and in need of conservation. And we'll also be responding to opportunities throughout the strategy as well. Now, details will follow on all of the strategic initiatives. The best way to make sure that you get that information first is to sign up to our e-newsletter through our website, which is heritagefund.org.uk. Also on the website, in the funding section, you can find all the guidance notes, all the good practice guidance as well for the grant scheme that I was just talking about. You can also follow us on social media too at Heritage Fund UK. So thank you very much for listening. I'm really looking forward to see the Midlands Forest Network develop and to find out about the projects that come out of it as well. I've popped my email address on the slide. So if at the moment you've got any ideas for projects that you'd like to have a chat about, please do get in touch. Thank you very much for listening.